Welcome to People More Interesting Than Me, the podcast, where I step back and let fascinating individuals take the spotlight. Join me as I sit down with incredible guests who captivate and inspire, showcasing their stories, experiences, and wisdom that make them truly extraordinary. Tune in for engaging conversations that'll leave you enlightened and entertained. At least I'm entertained. Joining us is John Jubilee, widely regarded as America's forefront expert on inner cellular hydration. John is the visionary co-founder of Energized Health, a company that is currently disrupting the health and wellness space with their breakthrough science. For nearly 30 years, John and his team have been helping thousands of people achieve optimal health at the cellular level. At a time when pharmaceutical drugs are more prevalent than ever, yet disease and critical illness rates continue to rise, John's mission is to make America healthy again from the inside out. Today, John will share his insights on the science behind inner cellular hydration, the importance of the health marker, and how his innovative protocols are transforming lives. His guiding principle is a commitment to unlocking health from within, and we're excited to learn more about his journey and the impactful work he's doing. Enjoy. Like, what was the go-to meal when you were younger?
Oh, no, well, I grew up so poor, we couldn't pay attention. So there was no such thing as a go-to meal at my house. It was, dude, if there was any nutrition at all, you just ate what you could. And so in my house, if you had peanut butter and white Wonder Bread, it was like hallelujah, so so yeah, it was I had a unique upbringing in life. And so yeah, literally we were abject poverty. My mom refused to go on welfare, had 4 kids as a single mom in the inner city. And so no, there was no such thing as nutritional. The only 2 meats I thought there was in the world was Spam and liver.
Oh, I thought you were going to say bologna.
No, bologna was for the rich people. No, that was for rich people. We could not afford bologna.
Vienna is probably pretty bad too. Vienna sausages. Oh.
No, it was Spam and liver was the only 2 meats in my house, at any time. And they were both disgusting. So I was
Gotcha.
pretty much, yeah.
And we'll talk more on this, but you being big into health and obviously eating the right thing and all the aspects of getting better, how do you look back at where you're at now as opposed to like when you were younger, where you didn't really have a choice? Is that something like eye-opening to you? Like the huge contrast?
No, it really is. And it's amazing that, we can get away with a lot when we're young, like up until you're 30 years old, you can pretty much get away with anything. It doesn't really matter what you eat till you're 30 years old. Your body is designed to give you a lot of grace and a lot of wiggle room, so yeah, I really think that, yeah, the human body is so extraordinary that, and I'm just being real with people. So, I'm a pure scientist. I don't care what the truth is. I just want to know what it is and share that with people. And so the reality is pretty much anyone can get away with anything until they're 30 years old. It really doesn't matter what they eat or drink or anything else. So you're going to be healthy because you're born perfectly healthy. Like, you have crazy levels of human growth hormone. And if you look at scientifically how the human body grows from the time you're a baby, it seems impossible. Like you realize you double in size in 2 years. Think about that. Like, what if that happened when you were 30, if you doubled in size? And what if it happened again? I mean, it's amazing. But yeah, you're born so healthy, you can get away with a lot for a long time.
I love that you said that. That just makes like everything I did before I was 30, just like, what do they say? Blank slate or
It is, man. It doesn't matter what you do before you're 30.
No, that's great. So I've only damaged my body for maybe the last 4 years then, if we're going with that. No,
And honestly, that does make sense because I feel like, I mean, plus or minus a couple years, it feels like I've been going downhill. But I mean, like, I can still, I heard this crazy statistic that I still don't believe that was like 90% of, I think it, I don't know if it was specific to America or the world, but they said that 90% of people will never sprint it again after the age of 50 or age of 30. And I thought that
Yeah.
was crazy.
Yeah.
Like, what are these people doing?
No,
Like,
no, that's a real stat. No, that's a real stat, by the way. And when I first read that, I didn't believe it. And you know what? So I personally interviewed dozens and dozens of people and asked them, when's the last time you sprinted? And they literally sit there and they have to ponder and meditate for like 5 minutes. And then they say, I don't know. I go, you think it was, when you were 30? It's like, yeah, they're pretty much everybody. That's a real stat. That's a real stat. So I can tell you, I intentionally, uh, I do sprint, I intentionally sprint on purpose, just because of the power of, an object in motion tends to stay in motion. Now, thankfully, it's easy for me. I got twin 9-year-old boys. So I have to sprint, just playing baseball and playing football. And so, I have to sprint, just running bases or running patterns or chasing them down in a football game. And, so I pretty much have to do it. So it kind of keeps me healthy. But even in my normal routine, I have a thing where I basically sprint down the side of a mountain, on purpose, just to keep myself in gear like that. So that is, they've also tied an amazing strength is the number one marker of longevity of life, strength. So, it has nothing to do with blood pressure or A1C or no, you can take one measurable. How strong are you will determine how long you live. And that's the importance of healthy, lean muscle and staying strong all your life. There was a Centurion study that they did of people that lived to be 100 years old or older. And, amazingly, not surprisingly, really, most of these people that live to be over 100 years old, it's because they live in areas, a lot of them in Europe, by the way, where there's a lot of hills. So they naturally, every day, they have to walk up and down hills, and they're out there working in a garden. They naturally are staying strong because they're still doing stuff every day that they have to do. Whereas in America, people can easily become sedentary. They can easily just sit in their chair, turn on their TV, order their DoorDash, and that's why, we die, 30 years younger than them, because they're living longer because they're being intentional, or actually they're not even being intentional. They're just living their real life. Like their real life makes them go out and do stuff every day. So there's a power in movement and there's a power in strength.
yeah, there's a, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but I recently read this book called The Red Queen, and it's talking about how, we have all the, this isn't specific to it, but it talks about how we have so many technologically advances in all aspects of our life that it catches up with you. If you're making your life easier, then you have to monitor all these different devices. Like for example, we, just like you said, like we can drive anywhere we want, or we have, A, B, C of different vehicles, devices to get us from A to B, but then you lose out on, you know, like exercise, fresh air, vitamin D. And it's crazy that like you take all these supplements as well, whereas you could be eating healthy. Like, and I think this is the biggest with Americans, obviously not with, like Europe. I can't attest to the other ones, but we're taking supplements for stuff where we should actually try eating healthy and try to get like the essentials from like organic stuff rather than, supplementing. I know sometimes it's essential to get those. It's not always,
Well,
accessible.
yeah. Well, let's hit that for a minute. So, no, I've met people that spend $1,500 per month on supplements. One
That's
thousand
expensive
five
urine.
hundred per month. on supplements and poop. It's expensive urine and poop, because the reality is, if you don't have healthy cells, literally, I'll just give you a little word picture here. Most people's cells are like this. They're like two glass marbles. They're like two glass marbles. And no matter what supplement they take, it's just bouncing off. It's bouncing off. It's coming out in the toilet, one end or the other. It's coming out in the toilet. So until your cells become porous like sponges, you are wasting every penny. And I would challenge anyone that says, can that be true? Look, how many of you guys out there are like I was for 10 years? Now, this was a long time ago, but I used to have a cabinet full of supplements. I was one of those guys, by the way. I admit, I confess, I spent a ridiculous fortune on supplements. I had high blood pressure. I had hypertension. I had bone on bone in my knees. I had horrible pain every step of my life. How many of you guys can feel me? I had this shelf. Now you probably don't know what the shelf is, but that's where you could set your coffee cup on your belly. You got the shelf going. I had a 10-inch belly. Now this is 27 years ago, by the way. So 27 years ago, I had all these issues, and man, was I frustrated. Like, what the heck is going on? And so that's really what birthed Energized Health, was in my frustration. I realized, wait a minute, the whole system is not designed to get us well. The system makes money if it could keep us just sick enough to not die. If we say just sick enough to not die, they can milk us for everything we have. That's just the reality. It pays to treat, not to cure. It pays to treat, not to cure. And I've found this out the hard way. I had a big diabetic company. I had several people. I helped them reverse their diabetes, and they got all excited, and they worked for a diabetic company. And they said, hey, why don't we make this guy a spokesman? This guy's reversing diabetes. And they were all excited, and they were going to put me in their magazine and, all this. And then the next thing you know, they're calling me apologizing, saying, John, we're so sorry. They said they don't want to endorse you at all because these people, are paying hundreds of dollars every month for all their diabetic supplies. And the last thing they want to do is promote some guy that's helping people, save $900 a month on insulin. They don't want to do that. So I learned the hard way of what it was all about. And, and I got to tell you, I felt like the little kid that, found out there's no Santa Claus. So I was like, what? Are you kidding me? They really don't want to make people well. But that's just the reality. But the good news is, there really is a way, to do this, to get healthy cells. And when we get our healthy cells, then a supplement can actually have some efficacy. And it's the same thing with drinking water, right? We all been told, drink more water, drink more water, drink more water. Well, guess what? No matter how much water you drink, when this is happening, none of it's getting in there. I can't even make these stories up. Literally a month ago, a man was in my home. He's one of the #1 salesmen of $5,000 water machine, high alkaline, reverse osmosis, ionized water. And I let him go through his whole 90-minute, sales pitch. And it's all, sparkly and, lots of glittery, sparkly, the whole pitch. And it looks amazing. And when he got done, I asked him a question. I said, how long have you been drinking this water? He said, 15 years. I said, 15 years you've been drinking this water out of a $5,000 water machine? He said, yeah. I said, how much you drink? He said, 1 to 2 gallons a day. I said, well, I'll tell you what, I just so happen to have a medical device that measures your hydration. Can I measure your hydration? He said, oh, of course. I measure his hydration. This guy's completely dehydrated. He's completely dehydrated at the cellular level. And he also tested obese, by the way. So now he didn't look obese. He's what we call skinny fat. He looked fine in his clothes, but he was carrying so much visceral and subcutaneous fat that he was actually rated obese, on a measurement. And so I just looked at him, and then I got on the scale, So imagine this. I had 24 pounds of extra hydration in my cell than this man. 24 pounds. That's 3 gallons, by the way. That's 3 gallons of intracellular hydration inside my cells than this man had. And I said, you know what? You may want to be doing, and I'm measuring like a high school athlete, by the way, for my skeletal muscle and my lean body mass. And by the way, I'll be 64 years old. I'll be 64 years old this year. And this guy was, almost half my age. But that's the power of intracellular hydration. And that's what we need to make a cell healthy. We've got to have our intracellular hydration no matter what age we are. That's what we need. When we have that, then if we do take a supplement, we have efficacy. Then if we do drink our water, it actually gets in the cell and transforms us from the inside out.
No, that's great. And when you're talking about the cell, something pops into my head recently. I don't cook fish like I should. So I'm gonna be I'm gonna be one of those examples of people who take supplements. I just started taking omega fatty acids, like the supplement, just because I heard that was helpful for the cells. Like it helps with the what did it say? I'm not going to say mitochondria, but the outside of the cell to help promote stuff like that. Is that obviously there, you have a whole plan? Can you kind of touch on exactly how you would go about that, improving your cells for uptakes of vitamins and water and everything like that? Obviously, I know it's much more advanced, but
yeah, well, I can tell you this, that yeah, so that's what happens to all of us. So, I'm raising my hand right along with you. So every time I heard something was good, I bought it too. I really did. And people ask me, later, like, John, why did you buy all that stuff? Why did you try all those things? And listen, I'm just being authentic and genuine with everybody that's listening. And come on, how many of you guys are with me? I was desperate. I was desperate. Like I was bone on bone. I had hypertension. I knew I didn't feel right. I had a great attitude, but man, I knew something was off. I just didn't feel right. And so I tried all the same crazy stuff, man. I tried the no sugar, low carb, no carb, the keto diet. Back then it was called the Atkins diet, by the way. It's just, all this crazy stuff that we've all, come on, how many of you guys have tried it out there? We all tried it. And the craziest part is all that stuff works for a minute. It all works for a minute. So of course, if you stop eating your carbs, your body's going into ketosis, man. It is fighting to stay alive. You better believe it's going to go eat some fat, but guess what else it's going to do? It's going to destroy your healthy enzymes in your digestive system, maybe for your whole life. You'll never be able to digest food how you're supposed to for the rest of your life. So I like to kind of say, it sounds a little bit humorous, but Jesus hates that keto diet. He said, give us this day our daily bread. Bread is a good thing. So I can tell you for 27 years, I've eaten bread every day of my life for 27 years. And my blood work's all online, by the way. I just did a world record lift. And so I did a blood panel and a urine and all that, because I knew people would accuse me of being on steroids or testosterone or whatever. So I put all my blood panels up there, and so everyone can see, though, like I look like a high school athlete, my blood work, my urine, all that. And I lifted 500 chest press, 555 pounds, 14 reps. It's a world record at 63 years old. At 63 years old, by the way. And there was a guy about your age, 32 years old. He was there to set the world record. He got 5 reps. And afterwards, he just looked at me and said, and he was a steroid guy, by the way. And he's looking at me going, how in the world did you just do that? And I asked him a question. I said, do you know what muscle is made out of? He said, protein. I said, no, it's 3 parts water. It's 1 part protein. It's 3 times more important to have intracellular hydration than it is for your protein. Muscle is 3 parts water, 1 part protein. So the more intracellular hydration we have, the stronger we are, all natural. We don't have to have testosterone or hormones or anabolic steroids or any of that stuff to be super, super strong and healthy if we have healthy cells. And do you know the cellular cycle of the human body is only 88 days? In 88 days, you have trillions of cells. You can transform every cell in your body in 88 days. And that's what we teach people in our protocol. And I don't know if you did your research, but I have the only patent in the world. I filed the only patent pending science in the world of intracellular hydration. So it's thousands of pages of science-backed research, that back it up. But I have an 88-day protocol that I let people go through. But I make it so simple for them, like starting your car. When you start your car, you turn a key or you push a button, right? And most people, that's all they think of. I turn the key, I push the button, my car started. But there's 37 electronic and mechanical functions that happen every time you do that. But do you have to know what they are for it to work? No. And that's how my protocol of intracellular hydration is. You don't have to understand the thousands of pages of science-backed research. You just have to do these simple steps, that I give people to do so that they can actually get healthy at the cellular level.
No, that sounds awesome. I've never, and the funny thing is, usually when you break down stuff on a micro level without looking at so macro, because these days everyone's looking for, like the quick fix. They're looking for something, on a much larger scale. Like, I want to see results in a week. You know what I mean? Like, that's not realistic. You're not going to see something in the first week. And that's, the people with the short attention spans. And that's much harder today when you have, social media with instant gratification of TikTok, Instagram, all this other stuff.
Well, actually, let me show you something. Hang on. So normally, I would say what you're saying is true. However, when people start doing what we share, you know what this is?
It looks like fat from the body that was taken out.
It is literally an actual assimilation of true subcutaneous body fat. And in 1 week, most of our clients, in 1 week, this is what happens to them. They lose this in a week. So I would call that instant gratification.
Yeah, that is a very large piece.
I mean,
for
if
people
you can lose
obviously
that
not watching.
in 1 week, anyone that can see this, bigger than a loaf of bread. It's bigger than a loaf of bread, a solid fat. If you're just listening, if you could visualize, bigger than a loaf of bread of solid, ugly, disgusting fat. That's typically, and I love saying this, that's a typical result. It's a typical. I hate those commercials that say these results are not typical. So it's a typical result in our protocol that people will lose subcutaneous fat. They'll lose visceral fat. That's a dangerous killer fat that gets around the organs. They'll actually gain lean muscle mass. They'll gain lean muscle mass and they'll gain their intracellular hydration. And by the way, that's right on the website, on energizedhealth.com. People can go on. That's 4 guarantees. We guarantee every client, those 4 things will happen to them every time. That's our 4 promises that we guarantee.
Okay. No, that sounds great. And earlier on, you said strength. Strength was the key for kind of evaluating people's health and, more importantly, longevity. How do you define strength?
Well, here's how I define strength. So first of all, I start with the basics. You should be able to get down on the floor and get back up super easily. So I don't care if you're a grandma, if you're 60, 70, 80, 90 years old, you should be able to get down and get up off the floor. You should be able to go up and down stairs. You should be able to do push-ups. You should be able to do pull-ups. Back in the days of JFK, when he was president, he started the Presidential Fitness Award. And, those boys would work hard. You go back and do that stuff. It is an absolute travesty of the difference between the days of JFK and today. Like you had to be able to do 20 pull-ups. You had to do 50 push-ups. You had to be able to climb a rope up to a ceiling and come back down. Every kid could do it. Every kid could do it. And today, kids have really strong thumbs just from playing video games. We've changed what what we call fitness, today. I mean, it used to be far, far, far different. Kids used to have to run it was either 7 or 8 minute mile. I mean, everyone could do it because it was just considered that's just normal, optimal health, is to be able to just do these standard healthy things. And so that's what I do, in my protocol is I just get people started with something as simple as a walk. I just say, look, first, let's just start walking. Let's just get that body in motion. But do you know, I've had people that literally started out with a walker. And by the time they get done, 88 days later, they could jog for 5 miles. Because as you get that intracellular hydration, your strength just goes through the roof. People that couldn't do 1 push-ups, now they can do 20 push-ups. So I just go for super simple things that anyone could do at home so that they can have longevity of life. But more importantly, who cares about living long if you don't get to live your full life? So like I teach grandparents, don't you want to be an active participant in your grandkids' life? Who wants to be a spectator? You want to get out there and play with them. You want to be out there playing with them. You don't want to be watching them. No, get out there and enjoy life and live life to the full. So that's what I call strength. Strength is being able to live your full life. If you go on vacation and you have to walk to the top of the mountain to see a cool castle in Europe, you should be able to walk to the top of the mountain to see the cool castle. I went on one of these European vacations. 70% of the people on the boat couldn't even walk up there to see the castle. They just had to sit on the boat and look with binoculars. It was so sad. I was like, what is up with this? Like, are people really so unconditioned? They can't even walk to the top of, one, not even a giant mountain, just a, to me, it was little mountains, that you're walking up there to see, but they were missing out on these really super cool things because of one thing. They lack the strength just to be able to walk up a hill.
I love everything you just said because my kids aren't as old as yours. So I got a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old right now. And right now my parents live with us and they are like 75 and 76, but they're not in the best shape. They're like, like they probably couldn't do like a mile walk. So, and the way I see it is like they're just going downhill. You know what I mean? Like they've given up like on their bodies and stuff like that. And you can ask them and fight for that perspective, but it's just hard to change perspective. So when I heard you said you changed yours, was it like 27 years ago? Is that right?
Correct.
What I mean, there had to be something big, right?
There was. And I'll tell you what changed it. It was my kids. So at that time, I had 3 kids. Now today I have 8. But at that time I had 3 kids and I'll never forget it. I go out in the backyard. I'm throwing a football with 2 of my boys for about 15 to 20 minutes. Next thing you know, I'm on the couch for 2 days. Ouch, 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 ouch. I'm in pain for 2 days. And I'm on the couch thinking, oh my word, am I about to turn into the couch potato dad? Am I going to be that dad that cannot play with my own kids in the backyard? Am I going to be the dad that I can't be an active participant in my boys' lives? I was like, heck no, this cannot happen. This cannot happen. I have to do something different. That was my motivator. And that's when I went to go do all this research. And I'm not a smart guy, but I am a gifted guy. I was born with a photographic memory. I tested out at 12 years of college math in 45 minutes. God gave me a unique processor. And so I went and said, look, I'm going to figure it out. And I started studying thousands and thousands of pages of science. And next thing you know, guess what? I was my first client. I put myself on this protocol and I started doing it what I believed would transform myself at the cellular level. And the next thing you know, no pain in the knees. Next thing you know, no pain in the shoulder. Next thing you know, no high blood pressure. Next thing you know, no belly. Next thing you know, I just keep getting stronger every single year. I've gotten stronger every year for 27 years. So I was never trying to be a strong guy, by the way. My goal was one thing. I want to feel good and I want to be healthy, period. That's all I cared about. I didn't care what I looked like. I didn't care how much weight I could lift. It just so happened a side effect of intracellular hydration that, most people that meet me think I'm 20 years younger than I am. And I just so happen to be outlift anyone in the world at my weight class. But it was not intentional. That was not my goal at all. I have no ego. And guess what? And this year I'm going to go for 600. This year I'm going to go lift 600 pounds on a chest press because I'm like, hey, what's next? I'm going to go do the next thing because so far I've gotten stronger every year for 27 years. But absolutely, my activator was I want to be the active participant in my kid's life. And so sure enough, guess what? I raised those 5 kids up and out through college. And now I have 3 more, twin 9-year-olds and a 12-year-old. And I'm out there playing football and baseball and I play with my kids, and I'm talking full speed,
Full contact.
I'm full contact, everything at 64 years old this year.
Oh, that's great. So speaking more on some of this stuff, like not the new age stuff, but stuff popping up. How do you feel about cold and saunas and stuff like that? Like, what would you recommend on those levels?
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked me that. So I got asked that question a lot. It seemed to really come up about a year ago. And so being a pure scientist, guess what? I said, well, I don't know. Let's see. So I made myself the lab project. So I started going to cold plunge. So I'd get in a 38 degree. That was as cold as they could make it, by the way. So I'd go in the coldest one they could have, 38 degrees without chopping through the ice. I'd go in 38 degrees for 6 to 10 minutes a day. So I'd go in the cold plunge and to see if I had any efficacy. And so here's what I would tell anyone about that is I would recommend it, but not for the reason that most people say to do a cold plunge. So for me, by the way, I had no physical improvement, none. So I did it for 6 months straight. I'm talking 3 to 5 days a week, 38 degrees, 6 to 10 minutes. So that's pretty intense, by the way. Most people go in 44 to 50 degree cold plunges. They do it for like 4 minutes. And so, I tend to do everything a little bit more intense than the average bear. But I wanted to really get a true scientific read on, is this cold plunge? Now, because I had intercellular hydration, I really had no physical efficacy to it. I didn't have any physical improvement because I was already in optimal health at the cellular level. But I recommend it for a different reason. I recommend it because you do have a part of your brain called your anterior midcingulate cortex. And it's the only part of your brain that can still grow at any age. You can enhance your anterior midcingulate cortex by doing things you don't want to do intentionally. So nobody wants to get in 38 degree water. Nobody
or
wants
wake
to do
up
that.
at 4 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, I don't care what they say. Because every time I got in the water, I never wanted to get in the water. And it's really cold. And that first minute is a shocker for sure. For sure. And your body is saying, get me out of this water. But I love that part of it because it creates a discipline and it absolutely enhances that anterior midcingulate cortex of the human body. And so I'd recommend it just for that. And it's a powerful discipline just to do it. When you're going to have the discipline to do that, it's way easier. If you're willing to do that, you're probably willing to make some life changes. And so I would recommend it for people just to challenge them to make a life change, to make a life change, to choose, to do something like our protocol or something else is going to make them healthy, with their eating, with their drinking, with, what their daily habits are. So I would absolutely recommend cold plunge for that aspect alone. And then on the sauna, it's a little bit of a give and take on saunas. So saunas feel amazing, but if you're not doing the other healthy things, you can actually lose some healthy muscle mass. You can lose some healthy hydration in the sauna. Now, if you are doing what we teach, you will not lose your hydration because we're putting it inside the cell. We're putting it inside the cell. But you know what the difference between a raisin and a grape is?
An amount of water, I would assume.
It's just water. It's just hydration. It's just hydration. So if you just go sit in a sauna, you know what? You can lose 2 to 10 pounds of healthy water, and you're just going to turn yourself into a raisin. So you're going to feel, that nice heat feeling, but you may lose 2 to 10 pounds of healthy hydration. Now I'm talking about non-energized health people. Energized health people don't lose their hydration because their hydration's inside the cell. So you have extracellular hydration. That's the water outside of your cells. And then you have intracellular, that's the water inside your cell. So you're not going to lose water that's inside the cell. So it is healthy to go into a sauna. If you're already, as a man, you should be 60% intracellular hydration. A woman should be 55. And if you don't know what you are, then you don't know the number one health marker of the human body. It's more important than your blood pressure. It's more important than your A1C. It's more important than any health marker in your body is what is my intracellular hydration level. And if you think that's an exaggeration, I would challenge anyone that's about to drive cross country. What's the first thing you're going to check is the fluid levels of your car. Do I have enough water? Do I have enough oil? You're going to check the fluid levels. And that's a car. And cars aren't even mostly water. Cars are mostly metal and other stuff. But you're a human. You are designed to be mostly water. And if you're not mostly water, then you're not what you're supposed to be. And you need to start taking the steps so that you are mostly water.
Yeah, I mean, with just like you said, with cars, people, anything, when you look at, like we're talking about the micro aspects of it, it always boils down to viscosity, like lubrication, like all these things are potentially essential. You don't see anything lacking it. Like the only thing, I can't even think of any examples where that wouldn't be essential, and it just makes plain sense.
Well, you mentioned a great word there, viscosity. So the viscosity of blood is 92% water. It's supposed to be 92% water. And so if you lose your intracellular hydration, you lose the healthy viscosity of your blood. And so now your blood is like ketchup. It's what we call sludge blood. And if you have sludge blood, of course you're going to have high blood pressure. Of course you're going to have heart challenges. Of course you're going to have high cholesterol because you have sludge blood. You don't have a healthy viscosity of your blood. But by just gaining intracellular hydration, you get the healthy viscosity you were designed to have, and you can reverse your high blood pressure. You can reverse your high cholesterol. You can reverse your diabetes. Even migraine headaches are absolutely tied to just a lack of, if you're just 10% dehydrated, you can lose half your neurotransmitters and brain synapses. And that creates a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress. It can create migraine headaches. It can create disorders, by the way. It can create a lot of challenges in the human mind by just not having that, because the brain is more electrical than anything in the human body.
Yeah. It's funny how something so simple can be so easy to do, but it's like you have to hear it out loud to kind of repeat it in your head over and over again. And it's just sad that so many people, just like you said at the beginning about not ketosis and all these like different diets people are looking for, it reminds me of my mom growing up. She would always try like the new like Jenny Craig curves, I don't know, you you name it, whatever was the hot new like diet or exercise bump, like that was the next thing to try. Always looking for, like the secret, the what's El Dorado. She was looking for the cure, which I mean, like to give some train of fact, she was at least trying, and she just, didn't find the right El Dorado. Uh, so one question just to wrap up before our the closer. Um, what would you say for people listening? What is the number one health marker that most people they're not even aware of themselves, where they can kind of, we talked about how you were able to see your kids, but some people, I think the hardest thing is self-reflection. And most of the time, those people, they get rattled by someone's death or a disease that they find out they have. And like you said, like a lot of people came to you with like diabetes. That was obviously their shakeup. But how do people who don't have those type of shakeups, how do they, how do they become self-aware with something like that?
No, I love that question. I really appreciate you asking that. Yeah, here's what I would encourage people. Don't wait for the catastrophe. Don't wait for the shocking medical report. Don't wait till you have the heart attack or the stroke, or you find out you're diabetic, or that you have high blood pressure. Don't wait for that. Be smarter than that. Listen, if you crave sugar, you're dehydrated. If you crave sugar, it's the number one sign you're dehydrated. If you pinch your skin and it doesn't snap back in a millisecond, you're dehydrated. If you feel thirsty, you're dehydrated. Do you realize when you're hydrated, you never feel thirsty? You just drink from a healthy habit. You never feel thirsty when you're hydrated. So if you have any of those three, you need to take the action step. Don't wait for the catastrophe. Now you can, if you want to be stubborn, you can wait. But I'm just telling you, after 27 years of helping people, and again, I'm just going to tell you guys the truth. Unfortunately, 90% of people, they wait for the catastrophe. They have the stroke, they have the heart attack, they get the horrible medical report, and then they take action. But if I could just like on my knees with my hands folded like pray, say, please, please don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to your family. Don't do that to your family. Don't terrify your loved ones by waiting until that happens. Choose to be proactive. Didn't all our grandparents teach us that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure,
Oh,
right?
I don't know that one. I'm sorry.
So an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Like, no, let's be preventative. Let's just do the right thing so we don't have the catastrophe. And I would just beg you guys, hey, please take care of yourself. Look, you do it with your car. You don't wait till your car breaks down to fix it. No, you go get your oil changed. You go for a tune-up. You do it with your car. You do it with your house. You maintain your house. Please care for yourself more than your car or your house.
I think the slogan that I think that comes closest to me is measure twice, cut once.
That bam, bam.
Okay. So the last question. What is something that your parents did that you like to pass on to your kids? And the other side, I can repeat again after, but what is something that you did kind of differently that your parents didn't necessarily would have done?
Yep. Yeah. So first of all, this is super fun. I was raised by a single mom, and my mom was great at just creating surprise moments. And so wasn't often, but it was so memorable when my mom would just come take me out of school and take me for some super fun day. And I'll never forget that. It was so memorable, super joyful, super fun, that even as a single mom, that she would just create memories and create moments in those special times.
That's great. I love that. That's a brand new one, and I might even steal that. So just to let
Good.
you know.
Steal away.
And what's something new that I guess you're doing with your kids?
Yeah. So something for my kids that I really didn't have growing up, but I do to them is I perpetually speak positive words of affirmations over my children. I totally tell them, you are brilliant, you are intelligent, you are creative. I totally pour words of affirmations, over my kids at all times. And I don't ever go down the road of, and if my kids make a mistake, you know what? I always stay calm and still speak an affirmative word over them of saying, that's no big deal. That's just life happening. So what if you did this? So what if you did that? I have a saying in my home for my kids: if it's funny later, it's funny now. So when my twins pulled the water hose in the house and decided to create a Pirates of the Caribbean moment, I laughed. If it's funny later, it's funny. No, they really did that. They turned on the
I really
hose.
like that. I mean, to be fair, every moment that a kid has at that, if you haven't ever thought of that, or your younger self would have think that's funny, how can you get mad at that? You know what I mean? Like,
That's it.
I think kids are just adults that haven't aged yet, and we're kids that have aged. So I think we're all just in the same boat, and they're catching up.
That's it.
But yeah, thank you very much for being on the show, John.
No,
Where
I'm
can
honored.
where can people find you?
Yeah, best place is Energized, Energized, Energized Health, energizedhealth.com. And again, I really encourage people to, take a moment for yourself, honor yourself, and do your research. Do your research. I tell people, when it comes to health and wellness, you better be a beautiful, beloved skeptic, because people are out there trying to sell everything. But you can go look, Better Business Bureau, Trustpilot, Google, Facebook. We're 5 stars across the board, A+ with Better Business Bureau. All we do is help people for 27 years. And the best thing is look, you got to find something that's sustainable, because all these crazy diets, they will work for a minute, but they're not sustainable, because God gave you taste buds and food tastes good. And eventually you're going to want to go eat a pizza. You're going to want some ice cream, and God made you to eat that stuff and enjoy it. And I do too, by the way. So, there's nothing in this world I don't eat. People ask me all the time, like, what do you eat? I go, what do you think I eat? I eat everything. I eat everything. I just eat in moderation. People come up to me eating a double pepperoni, double sausage pizza. Like, dude, I know who you are. What are you doing eating that? And I go, hey, I built my house. Now I'm living in it. I go, God made us to enjoy life, and I got kids, so I take them to Chick-fil-A and Taco Bell and, all the places that they love as kids. There's nothing you can't eat in moderation when you're healthy at the cellular level. So I really appreciate being on here, and I love your spirit. I love it. You're a dad, I love it. You're a dad, and you're on an awesome journey.
Oh yeah. Thanks for being on the show. I appreciate it. And just like all of them, I learned so many new things, and my perspective has changed from, I guess it was 45 minutes ago. I'm a completely different person. So that's awesome. Have a good night, and maybe I'll see you on the show again.
All right. But be honored.
See ya.
If you like this week's episode of People More Interesting Than Me, please follow me on Apple Podcasts so you won't miss out on more episodes like these.